Alright guys, so today I'm going to do a video on the Smith & Wesson 627 357 Magnum revolver. I don't do a lot of wheel guns. I don't own a lot of revolvers, but this one came across my table and the price was right. I decided to go ahead and take the plunge on it. So um, for those of you that don't know, it's a N frame revolver, so it's larger than the K frame. The 686 plus over here is a K frame, which is considered a medium-sized revolver. The N frame is the one step larger in frame, so it's a little more robust than a K frame. Uh, K frames are still just fine for 357. In fact, most 357 revolvers are made from K frames. And but I'm learning about revolvers. I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to the nomenclatures and the models and all that stuff. And I don't plan to get like super well versed in them, but I'm just trying to educate you a little bit on what I've learned about revolvers in my time about learning them. So um, I bought the 686 Plus years ago because I just wanted a 357 Magnum in my collection. I always liked the steel frame. I wanted a different caliber to shoot. I wanted a 357, and they're known for being 6 shot, and I thought the Plus was really cool because you got 7 shots of 357 instead of 6. So you got what is it, 20% more, or what 20 something percent more. So that's kind of why I picked the 686 plus. And I always like the longer barrel versions. I don't really like the snub nose, so 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch. I think the 4 inch is like about the perfect look for just a standard revolver and stuff. And this is the shiny stainless. The 627 is a brushed stainless, but they're both stainless steel. And they're both 4 inch. And what makes the 627 a little special is this is the Pro Series, so it has a little bit of trigger work done to it. It's not quite a performance center, but it's intermediate. So you got the standard versions, which are just like your 686, then you have your 686 Pro Series, and maybe like a 686 Performance Center. So this is right in the middle. It's still reasonably priced. Obviously, the 686 Plus is going to be cheaper than the 627. It's got a little bit of a cut on the underlug, I think it's called. But what makes this one special is that it is 8 shots of 357 Magnum, and it takes something called moon clips. So I'm kind of new to moon clips, as my 686 does not take moon clips. You have to single load them into the cylinder and stuff, and which isn't a bad thing. I was just new to moon clips, and what moon clips are is they get these little metal clips. You preload your ammo, and then you can just drop them right into the cylinder. Sometimes they get a little hung up and stuff, and you just load it, and then when you're done with the spent cartridges, you just rip them out and you can load some more. So moon clips are kind of cool. Your revolver has to be cut for moon clips, so your cylinder has to be cut, as there are little recesses in there and stuff. And but you can still load them singly if you want to. And what's very cool about this is, like I said, the trigger action's a little better than the 686. So this single double action trigger, it's very heavy. You can stack it or stage it, and but if you do a pull through, it is a smooth trigger, right? Single action is always going to be superb on revolvers. Not a hair trigger, but I can feel a little resistance before the break. But man, that is such a clean, fantastic feeling trigger and single action. But the 627, it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit smoother, and it just feels a little more crisp. You can still stage it, and the single action is fantastic. I find the single action is much better. It feels a little bit lighter. It feels about 3 pounds according to my finger. Really nice feeling revolver. And like I said, the action's really smooth. The manual of arms is very intuitive. You just push right here to open up the cylinder. You load in your cartridges, and then you close it. Just an FYI, like you can spin your cylinder, but don't spin your cylinder and then flip it closed. That will mess with your lockup and stuff. So um, I knew that, but a lot of people don't. You just kind of see the people doing like the cowboy. I call it the cowboy load. They load it, flip it, or spin it, and then flip it closed. And that's it. Probably won't damage it right away, but you do that consistently, and you'll damage how these little lugs right here. I don't know if you can see those right here. That's what times your cylinder to your barrel. And if it gets a little out of whack, your cylinder won't be lined up with your barrel correctly, and you could have like a catastrophic failure, or your gun just might not shoot as well and stuff. So um I did add some parts to this. So I put back on the regular Hogue grips, and they're kind of like the same Hogue grips that came with the 686. The guy had put wood grips on it, and they were fatter, and my hands are kind of smaller. And then these Hogue grips, they just grip really well, and they absorb some of the recoil of 357. So I put back on the Hogue grips, and put the wood grips back in the box and stuff. It did come with just standard iron sights, and I put an EGW optic plate on here as RMR cut. Let's see if it'll show up. Got to turn it on. That usually helps. Some people might call it heresy to put red dots on a revolver or a wheel gun, but I uh, I put one on the 686 here, and I shot really well with it. In fact, I can hit steel pretty easily at 100 yards with a 357 Magnum. I can do it with a 9 millimeter too, but in single action, it's so easy to hit steel. It's so easy to hit a target at 100 yards, which is pretty impressive for a pistol. The weight of the gun really feels good. Um, it feels like a powerful load. So if you shoot full 357 Magnum loads and you're used to shooting 9 millimeter, you will feel a big difference in the power of that cartridge over a 9 millimeter. I haven't shot any 38 special, so I don't know what big of a difference that is. But since this is a 357 Magnum and 38 special is basically the same price for ammo, I just went ahead and bought a bunch of 357 Magnum ammo. Um, I do run mainly Hornady Critical Defense, but it's pretty expensive. I found a good deal on Spear Gold Dots, 158 grain, about 60 cents a round, which that's really good for 357 Magnum. And then I bought some Freedom munitions. I bought 1,000 rounds of the 158 grain Spear Gold Dot at 60 cents a round since it was such a good price, and I bought 500 rounds of plinking ammo from Freedom Munitions. Like was like 150 grain, 158 grain too, somewhere around there. I am not too well versed in the grain weights of 357 and stuff, so but I figured that'd be a good start just to kind of so I can shoot these, so I don't have to like worry about ammo and finding the 357, because I'm going to tell you in stores 357 is about $1 a round, sometimes more than $1 for range ammo if you were go to a range and you didn't bring enough ammo to shoot in your 357. So when I thought about getting a lever gun that also took 357, so we'll see. But um, in my opinion, right, if you're looking for a one and done wheel gun, because there was a couple I was looking at, right? Obviously, I went with the 686 plus mainly because of the price, and like I heard Smith and Wesson revolvers were really good. This was very reasonable. It was $700 on the used market. You could probably find it for 750 as well. I was looking at a Ruger GP100, which is also a very, very good, fantastic 357 revolver. That's about $600. And then I was also looking at a Colt Python. And Colt Pythons, I found one for $1,100, but that's still $1,100. However, the 627 here, I found for $750. And I am just elated with the purchase of that gun, because I think it's a really good value. It's an all steel frame. There's no like composites in here, composite metals, and there's no air weight frames. I know Smith and Wesson makes the R8, which has like some fancy composite metal in there. It also has a pick rail on top and a pick rail on the underlug. So you mount a flashlight, you can mount an optic. But I'd rather just buy the optic plate and put whatever optic I want to on there and save a little bit of money because the R8's expensive. It's also an 8-shot 357. It's all black too. And not that I mind black guns, I really like black guns, but if I'm talking about revolvers, I want it to be in stainless. I want to be in like the either shiny stainless or the brush stainless. So, and what's really cool about this is it's a little bit heavier than the 686, so the weight helps with the recoil. And if I'm doing like a one and done revolver, um, man, I an 8-shot 357 Magnum. I mean, the Colt Python is just a quality revolver. I wouldn't mind having one, but I honestly think for the money, the 627 is probably the best 357 Magnum on the market for the money. If you want a one and done 357, I'd go with the 627. And you could call me a little biased because I bought it, but um, in my research of revolvers and stuff, and I'm very particular in my revolvers. Like I said, I'm not a fan of snub nose. I don't like 38 special. I don't like weird cartridges like 454 Casull and 41. I want to get like a 357 or a 44 Magnum, so I can shoot 38 special or 48 or 44 special. I don't want the special models of revolvers. I want to be able to shoot full power loads out of them. The 4-inch barrels look the best to me. 5-inch doesn't look bad. 6-inch is getting a little long, but you're really increasing the ballistics and the velocity out of that cartridge. It's about I'm not going to tell you what the ballistics are, but I'm going to tell you like velocity out of a 6-inch is pretty much the best you can get out of a revolver. So if you're looking for like the best terminal ballistics you can get out of a revolver, get a 6-inch. But I think 4-inch and 5-inch are probably the best, like overall, just looking the most balanced looking revolvers on the market and stuff. So in my opinion, you can go with a 686, but I think you would be doing yourself a disservice not to get a 627 for a little bit more. It's basically a 686, just with an extra round, a little bit nicer trigger, and basically the same gun with a heavier frame, like I said, an extra round and a better trigger, right? So you're paying for those upgrades and stuff, but man, it's such a nice revolver, guys. So that's my experience with wheel guns and the Smith& and Wesson 626. What do you guys think? You think it's heresy putting this red dot on there? I like it. I liked it so much. I have put a red dot on here too, and people look at me kind of funny, especially the guys really into revolvers. But I don't care. I did order some more parts. I ordered some VZ grips for this, so maybe some G10 grips will make this feel a little bit nicer. I'm keeping the grip on here, but we'll see. So that's my experience with Smith& and Wesson revolvers and the 686 Plus and the 627. Let me know what you guys think, and join me next time.